Hi, so you should have received an invitation email from the Exact team. You'll want to go through in that email and click on the link to activate your account and set up your password and everything like that. If you do not have that email, please check your junk or spam mail folders and make sure, see if it's in there. If you can't find that, go ahead and email our support team. Occasionally, when your school provided the list of student email addresses, there might have been a typo in one or two emails. So that might be the case for you if you didn't get your email. So just let our support team know and we can get that corrected and send the invitation to you. Once you get that invitation, like I said, you'll be able to activate your account. That first time you'll be able to log on through that email. However, in the future, you can just go to apps.exact.com and go there to log in. You can always go to our website, toexact.com, but if you go to apps, that's a little bit faster. It'll take you directly to the login page. So you might consider bookmarking that for your use in the future. When you log in here, you'll see you have a dashboard. Here, instead of Exact here, it'll have your school's logo. And then over here on the right, it should say your name. If you ever need to go in and change your password or anything like that, you can go do that over on the right. Then you're going to navigate through your through the system here using this left-hand menu. You do see on the dashboard you might have a message from your school, some information like pending documents or expired documents that you need to upload, information about a current placement, and the status of various sections in your profile. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the first left-hand menu item here, which is My Profile. So this is something that your school will want you to fill out, to obtain more information about you so that your school gets to know you a little bit better. Also, they might be sending it off to fieldwork sites so that the sites that you're placed at can know you better. Some schools allow their students to upload pictures. Others provide pictures for their students. If your school allows you to upload a picture, you'll just do so here. And you'll see some of the details here that have been imported by your school. So if any of this information above this line is wrong, this is not information that you're able to change. You could contact your school and say, hey, for some reason you put me as graduating in 2019, but I graduate in 2020, or whatever the case might be. Your school is able to change these. To go through your profile and edit various sections, you're going to use this right-hand menu here. If at any time this information changes, say you move and you need to update your address, you can always come jump here into each section and change that information. So first I'm just going to go through each section here. You have your basic information. Keep in mind for all of these sections, yours might look a little bit different. Each school can kind of customize some of this, so there might be a few different fields, but the overall idea is still the same. If you have a preferred or former name, you can enter it here. Some schools require a student's last 4 digits of their social security number, a personal email address, date of birth, sex assigned at birth, gender identity, race, which you can select by turning this on, and then you can indicate what your race is here, ethnicity, cell phone, home phone, pager number, and veteran status. Once you fill this out, you'll just hit save. And then initially, the first time you're completing this, it is really nice. You can just use these purple buttons to toggle through each section. Up next, you have a personal statement if your school requires that. You can write about why you chose the field of occupational therapy for your career and just a general personal statement. Some schools will provide their students with prompts here. Your next section is areas of interest. Again, this section might look a little different. Your school might have a different list here, but you'll want to check off the areas that you're interested in. This is not saying for any specific fieldwork rotation you're interested in these, or requesting a placement for those settings or anything like that. It's just for you to say, in general, this is what I have an interest in, and then you can write some notes about that if you would like. Then we have a space for you to enter your address. You do have the ability to add multiple addresses in here. If you want to put a contact name for that address, for example, if your aunt lives somewhere and you could stay with her during fieldwork, you might put her in. And just select the type of address, if it's a current address, a permanent address, or a different address. And go ahead and add those in and then save. This is really helpful for you. You can search For sites, if your school has a wish list open, you can search for sites that are close to your addresses. Also, it's really helpful for your school when they're placing you for fieldwork. Then you'll go ahead and toggle over to the next section, which is emergency contact. You'll want to be sure to provide your school and your fieldwork site here with 3 potential emergency contacts just in case they might ever need that. After that, we have your education history. Here you'll just want to add the degrees that you have. Just like a resume, type in the school you attended, the degree you've received, the major, start and end date, and any notes you might have. The next section is employment history. It's very similar to a resume. We've just separated volunteer and paid experiences. So here you'll just click to add an entry, enter your employer, your title, start and end date. We do have a present box if you still work there, and you can list your responsibilities. The next section is a clinical questionnaire. This might look very different for you. Each school can choose their own questions here. So you'll just want to see each of these questions. You'll want to come in and just click to answer them. Any that have an asterisk next to them, your school has marked as required, so be sure to, at minimum, answer all of those required questions. The next section is language proficiencies. So this is a space intended for you to write about any languages you speak other than English. So you can just click to add, select the language from the drop-down here. Your drop-down might look a little bit different at your school, but if the language that you speak is missing, go ahead and email our support team, let them know what school you're from, and we will absolutely add your language to this drop-down. Then you can select your different speaking and reading proficiencies here. We have the definitions of all of these proficiency levels here below to really help you determine exactly what your proficiency level is in that language. And then any notes you might have about that you can type here, and then you'll just save. And it will just take you back to this page. It'll add your language to this list here, and you can of course come in and edit it if you ever improve or something and that changes, or if you need to add more, of course you can come and do that. The next section is honors, awards, publications, and presentations. These are all free text boxes for you to write about any honors and awards you've received, as well as publications and presentations you've been involved in. If you leave these sections blank, don't worry, they don't look like this to your fieldwork site. They don't see anything that says no honors. It just won't be a heading of a section on your profile. The next section, required documents. This is often very different for different schools, but here your school will provide you with a list of documents that they'd like you to upload. So be sure to look at those and look at the document guidelines and make sure you upload the appropriate document. Sometimes too, your school might provide you with a sample document that you need to download, or maybe like in the case of a physical exam, a form you need your physician to sign or something like that. So if there are documents showing here for you to download, be sure to download them. You can see that here with this eyeball where you can view the template or sample. You'll want to be sure to grab that like for a physical exam form. So you'll want to go ahead and click on this cloud button here to upload these documents. If your screen resolution is a little bit different, sometimes the cloud button is kind of hidden. You might just make sure to scroll to the right and then you'll be able to see the cloud button. Another solution is if you click on these 3 lines, if your menu is big like this and it's hiding the cloud button, you can click on the 3 lines to kind of shrink your left menu there and make it a little bit easier to see. So you'll want to be sure to upload each document, and then in the dates column, your school might have asked you to put in some dates. For example, the date it expires, you'll just want to click on missing and fill out that date. If your school asks for a completed date, that means like they want to know the date you received your varicella vaccine or titer, for example. So just be sure to fill out those completed dates too, and you can see with all of these whether you have a due date for them, it'll be listed here, and if this document is going to be shared with the site. So lots of information for you here, and be sure to upload all of those documents. Then below we do have a space for additional documents. So if you have something in addition to that you need to upload, you could add those here. And then any notes that you might have can be typed here as well. Some schools will also use this additional health information section. If your school is using it, you'll just need to come in and complete things like the information about your health insurance, professional liability insurance, CPR, and so on. Generally, schools that use this are not having their students upload documents. However, occasionally some schools do have students fill in both. So just be sure to work with your academic fieldwork coordinator to find out what your individual school's requirements will be. All right, going on to the next section. Some schools will have this section for continuing education and seminars where you can add seminars that you've attended. So you'll just type the name in here, the city and state, the dates, and the notes you have about that. Not all schools use this section, so it might not appear to you, and that's totally fine if your school isn't using it, but just know it's an option for some schools. That's what it's intended for. The next section here is review and sign. This is where you will look over everything in your profile and electronically sign it that this information can be released to fieldwork sites. You'll just check this box and hit save. If you want to scroll through everything and make sure it's correct, you can always click here to edit, if you notice anything is incorrect and needs changed. Then once you're finished with that, you do have the option here, your next toggle is to send your profile link. Like I said, this profile is for your schools to get to know you better, but it's also for your fieldwork sites to get to know you better. Some schools will send the student profile links off themselves to the fieldwork educators and coordinators at the sites. Other schools will ask the students to send it out. So totally, kind of up to your school, find out what your requirements are. However, it is really nice for you to have this option because occasionally you might get to your site and your educator says, I know your, faculty sent me that link, but I can't find it. Can you send it to me again? I need something off of there, by the end of the week or whatever. In that case, you'll just click send profile link, fill this out and send it to them. Keep in mind here, the link expires in this number of days. It's going to default to 1 year. That means this person has access to your information for an entire year. In most cases, you probably want to limit that. If it's only a short fieldwork rotation, 1 month, you'll want to change it to 30 days. That way they don't have unlimited access to your profile. If you need to jump back at any time, you can always use these breadcrumbs. Click on my profile, and that's going to take you back to the overall profile section. All right, let's go ahead and move on to my wish list. This is a space some schools use if they want their students to indicate their preferences for an upcoming fieldwork, so for where they want to go. If that's the case, you'll just have the session listed here, and there might be rounds. A round is just one time of doing the wish list. Sometimes schools have to do it multiple times because they need to, make sure to find everybody the appropriate placements here. But you'll just want to click on the session label for that open wish list. And then you'll see some more information about the wish list here. So we can see the start date for the session and the end date, the round of the wish list, and general information about the wish list here. Pay very close attention to when this wish list closes. Whenever this wish list closes, it's not waiting for your faculty to go in and manually turn it off. The computer will automatically close the wish list. So this is a very hard deadline. Make sure you submit your wish list before that end time. So even if it closes in the middle of the night, it is totally automatic, done by the computer. Your faculty's not staying up all night to try to close it. All right, so you will just want to go through the process in this to-do list to complete your wish list. The first thing that you want to do is select the slots. So here you can see your school has said you have 10 slots that you are able to choose, and you have to do a minimum of 10. Of course, the numbers might be different here. Your school will say, what that number is, but you'll want to be sure to have enough slots on the wish list. And you can just scroll through and see what's available. If you want to filter, you can filter by, sites that are in area, meaning they're in the area of your school. Sites that are close to your addresses, so that's a really helpful one. Sites that require interviews and things like that. If you want to filter only for certain settings, you can do so, and so on. If you're interested in a site and you want to find out more information about it, you can just click on that site's name. That's going to load a page with some information about the site that your school has provided. So here you can see things like, do they provide parking, where you should park, the hours, some general notes, requirements, documents that your school has provided, sometimes even old SEFWEs if prior students have gone here, you can see those as well. So definitely look through all this information, and then if that's a site you're interested in, you'll want to go ahead and add it to your wish list. So if you would like this slot, you'll just add it. Be sure you always look at the notes here. If there are any notes, you might want to click on those and take a look to see if there's information about the patient population and so on. And you'll just go through and add all of these slots that you're interested in to your wish list. If you decide you don't want one, you can of course click remove. And there's going to be a counter up here that's going to show you how many slots you've selected versus how many are required, so you know if you have room left for more slots. So this is you just saying these are the ones you're interested in. You'll want to scroll down. Be sure you click next and scroll through all the pages of slots. You can always change this to viewing all if you'd rather see all of the slots on one page. But you will want to click next so that you can rank the slots in order from your favorite to least favorite. So here you're just going to want to find if this is your favorite one. You're going to want to move it up the list to being first, and maybe if this is your least favorite one, you want to move it down the list a bit. And then however you want to move these around within the wish list here. So you can keep changing these ranks up until the due date. Keep going in and moving things around. You just will want to be sure to submit before the due date. If you have any notes about this particular slot that you want to add here, you can click on notes and write a note about that slot and why you're putting it in that rank on your wish list. And then when you scroll down, you'll see that you have the option to go next to submit your wish list. And you'll also see a nice little map here showing where all of those sites are compared to your address. Oh, and you can see I forgot a step. You will want to be sure to save the rank first before you move on so that the computer saves the order that you have put those slots in. All right, then we'll go ahead and go next where we review and submit. This is the final step for your wish list here. You'll just want to come through and make sure, again, this is everything that you really wanted to do. In some cases, you might need to upload a resume, and it's going to prompt you to do that right here. Then your school might choose to ask you some questions, so you'll need to answer those here. Your willingness to go out of the area, other questions as well, notes that you might have, and then you'll just want to come here and submit your wish list. Again, be sure to do that before the deadline because it is a hard deadline there. My Placements is where you will see your placement information once your school has released that to you. So you'll see the session name listed here, and you can click on the session to view more details. At this point, you'll be able to see quite a bit of information about the site that you're placed at. So you can scroll down here and see, the details of the site. You might even see contact people like a coordinator, an educator, or something that your school wants to share with you. You might also need to check off that you have reviewed this placement, so be sure to read this and see what your responsibilities are. Make sure you fulfill that site's requirements, and then check this box to let your school know that you've seen that. Throughout the rotation, you may also have things that you need to complete on your to-do list. So be sure to be looking at that so you'll complete all of these activities. Sometimes there will be an I here. That just means there's instructions that you need to read. If you hover over them, it'll show the instructions. And here we have a calendar showing the due dates of all of these items. So I'm just kind of going to walk through these briefly, making sure you understand what some of the common to-do list items your school might have here. Of course, for each rotation, each school might have some different things. The supervisor information is one that most schools will be using, and this is where you'll want to indicate exactly who your educator is. So you'll be sure to add your educator. I will show you staff people at this Fieldwork site, so if that is your educator, you can just add that person and it's going to populate some of these fields below. If not, you'll just want to answer these questions. But let's say this person is my educator. I'll just check them off here. Then it's going to fill in things like their name and email address. You will want to be sure to fill in their percentage of supervision. Keep in mind the system is only going to let you do this up to 100%. So if you have more than one educator, make sure to indicate exactly what their percentage of supervision to you is. If you just have one, they'll of course be 100. And then you'll want to answer these other questions. Keep in mind some of these are required. If you don't know when you're initially filling these out, you can always come here if you scroll to the bottom. You do have not applicable, but these are really important pieces of information for your school to track on your educator. So make sure you just save it instead of submitting it, and then go ahead and come back and find the answers to all these questions. Talk to your educator and find out how many years of experience they have and so on. So you can go ahead and get those and then submit it once you have it complete. Just make sure you go through here and answer those questions. And like I said, you'll just want to go ahead and save it. And then once you have all the questions answered, you will want to be sure to submit. All right, if we go back to our placement details page here, we can take a look at the additional to-do list items here. We do have a timesheet. Some schools will ask their students to complete this. Here you'll see all of the weeks of your rotation listed, and you'll just come in to add your entries for that week. So you can come in here to each day and indicate the number of hours you worked, when you arrived, when you left, and you can even select which educator was present during that time. If you have more than one, makes it really nice to choose which one you had for that date. And so just keep coming in, every day. Mark your time. If you're not scheduled, you'll want to indicate that as well. And once you have it all filled out for that week, you'll go ahead and submit your timesheet. All right, and then if you go back to your timesheet list here, you can also send this off to review if your school would like you to do that. First, you'll just need to indicate who your reviewer is. You'll want to fill out their information. And then save, and then you can request a review of a timesheet. So you'll see here you can add a review request, indicate which week, which reviewer, and you can put some notes about that can go to them in the email, and then send, and they're going to get that notification to review your timesheet. And I can see back here now on my timesheet that I've requested review here of this timesheet. All right, back to your placement details. Going back down on through the to-do list, there's some more items that your school might ask you to complete. So here we have a questionnaire. Some schools might ask students to answer some questions here. Just keep in mind for each of these, you might have separate due dates. You'll just want to click to answer those questions. Just click here and type your answer and then save. Be sure to check all of the tabs too. So you might have multiple tabs here, different questions on different tabs sometimes that your school asks you. Another thing that schools might have you complete is required documents. This just means documents that they want you to upload. Again, there can be multiple tabs here just to make sure you check all of those. And go ahead and click here and upload that document, PDF, Word file, whatever it is you might need to upload here. All right, up next, some schools have their students complete a midterm and final self-evaluation. So this is where you would evaluate your own performance at midterm and final, how you think you're doing in fieldwork. So if that's the case, you'll just want to come here and answer all of these questions about yourself, how you think you're doing. And it's quite a long form and you can come down and save, but be sure when you're totally finished to come in and submit so your school knows that you're done. Again, the final term one is very similar. Then we have an SEFWE. Some schools will be using it in a different format, so be on the lookout for that, but many schools will have it here on their to-do list. If that's the case, you'll just want to click through and complete that student evaluation of the fieldwork experience. So you want to go through and evaluate your site, answer all of these questions. There are several pages, so just be sure to, come in and save, click through each page, and then when you're done, you'll be able to submit. So make sure to, work on that as well. Something that other students can possibly view in the future if they're interested in going to that same site. Some schools might have an evaluation summary. This is something where you can come in and view evaluations that your educator has completed about you. Also, you can come and complete evaluations here if your school has a custom evaluation set up to complete. This is pretty typical for level ones that you might have to complete custom evaluations here. So you'll see those listed in evaluations done by you. You'll be able to click on a pencil here to complete them. And then evaluations done on you once your school releases those evaluations that have been completed by your educators. You'll be able to click on an eyeball here to view that evaluation. Lastly here, absences. Some schools will ask you to track any absences that you have. If you have to take a sick day or something like that from fieldwork, you will want to track that here. So just fill out all of the questions about that day that you had to take, and you can even upload a doctor's note if you need to. All right, next I'm just briefly going to go through the rest of this left-hand menu, hopefully fairly quickly. Manage FCFS, not super common for a ton of our OT schools to use, but some schools deal with something where their sites have said, I want to take an OT student, but I can't commit to any particular program. Whichever school tells me first they have an interested student, then that will be who gets that spot. So if that's something your school deals with, they will in general let you know that that's something you need to be checking, and those slots will come up on Manage First Come First Serve, and this is where you can come in and say that you are interested in that spot that a site has offered. My activities, again, not something a ton of our schools are using, but occasionally some schools might have activities here for you to do. Some schools do the SEFWE through here, so be on the lookout for that if that's something your school starts doing. School course is something a lot of our schools use to share course documents with their students. So here they could have a box, for every fieldwork rotation, and they might share documents here with you, things like a syllabus, course objectives, readings, things like that. So be sure to check out this section. Student packet is intended for more general documents. A lot of our schools use this to share documents with their students about fieldwork that, pertain to all of their fieldwork courses. Things like a student handbook, policies and procedures for fieldwork, a fieldwork schedule, stuff like that. You'll want to come in here and check those out. Make sure you have all the documents that you need. FAQs is a place for you to check before asking your school a question, just some frequently asked questions that students tend to have. You just click on the question here to view the answer. Sometimes there are lots of categories here. You just click if you only want to view questions about a certain category. Quick links is a place your school can share some helpful links to you. So, if you just want to check these out, a lot of helpful websites for you. School contact, this is a place where you can see your school's contact information. So, your academic fieldwork coordinator might be listed here with all of his contact information, an admin assistant, anybody else at your program who you might need to get in touch with for fieldwork questions will be listed here. And yeah, sometimes there are notes, so that you know who to contact about what. You can always use send message. It's just going to open up an email there for you so you can send them an email. Job posts, not all of our schools are using this, but some of our schools like to share jobs with students. So if that's something your school uses, you can see those job postings here. My Help is a place the Exact team has provided you with some help videos. So if you need to watch some tutorials, you could do so here. Technical support, this is how you can get in touch with our support team if you ever have any trouble. So first you might check our help center. We have a lot of how-to documents and things there, even several for students. So if you need help with something, check the help center, see if your question is solved there. Then you can always email our support team, support@exact.com. They're great for, any type of question you might have, especially if, you click on something, you get an error message, something isn't working the way it should. Definitely email the support team and get in touch with them. They'll be able to help you out. Some things that are really important to include in that email, if you have any screenshots, particularly of the error message or whatever went wrong, that really helps them out. It's great if you can include that URL bar up here in the screenshot. That's really nice too. Make sure also to say that you're a student and say which program you're from. It's really helpful if you say, I'm an Exact University OT student, or whatever the case might be. You do have the CSR that helps your school, that's trained them. So if you want to get in touch with your school, they might be able to point you to the CSR. Sometimes they can help with your problems, not generally with technical issues like error messages, but if it's more of a how-to issue or something that your school needs to know how to set up properly, the CSR would be in touch with your school for that. We do have a phone number here that you can call. However, I just want to give you some information about that. It does not go to a call center or anything like that. It just goes to myself as well as a few of my colleagues' phone numbers. So please keep that in mind. Occasionally we are all in meetings at the same time and no one is able to answer their phone. But we do have a voicemail set up for that phone number. So you can just leave a message with that voicemail. Please be sure to say what school you're calling from. Again, that you're a student or an admin user if it was to be someone at the faculty at your school. But, let them know you're a student, that you're an OT student. And please also, give a description of your problem. And if you could always spell your email address for us, that's really helpful so we can look at your account and see, if there's anything funny going on and get it fixed for you. If you leave a voicemail, whichever team member is available first will give you a call back, but that's really helpful for us to have all of that information so we can kind of do a check really quick and see what's going on before we call you. We also have this form here that you can fill out directly. If you have the app open and you don't want to open up your email or whatever, you can send an email directly to the support team using this form right here. The map of affiliation is where you can see any site that your school has an agreement with. So if you just want to scroll through this list, you can see them here. You can search by address or site name up here if you'd like. You can search by setting if you only want to see sites with certain settings. And then you have the sites near to my location. This does not mean near to your addresses that you've entered into your profile. This means near your physical location right at that moment. You can also open up this advanced search here. You can do things like searching by city and state if that's something you'd like to do as well. If you want to view information about any of these sites, you can just click on the site's name. You'll be taken to this page where you can see a little bit of information, things like, the site requirements, documents, notes, SDFWEs, things like that your school has provided you information about this site. Some schools have a discussion forum that they use, so if your school uses that, you can access that forum here to do your forum postings. And then lastly, resource materials. These are provided by the Exact team, just some helpful infographics for you to help you with understanding how the system works. Well, thank you for watching this video. Please let myself and the support team know if you have any questions.